like a big applause for Manu Bennett. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Take a seat. So how are you?
Who missed that hour last night that disappeared? You know that hour that they robbed us of last night? I want it back. It's interesting, yeah.
How are you?
I'm good, how are you?
No, fine. Yeah, I did some research about you.
Oh, here he goes.
Yeah.
Here he goes.
And I saw an interview, and it was about Azog the Defiler in The Hobbit, and you were replaced. Was it? You told something about you first acted, and then they made some visual effects of you?
No, there was originally a 7-foot guy got cast to play Azog because he had to be giant.
Yeah.
I actually auditioned for it and I thought maybe I was going to get it, and then it went to this 7-foot guy, and but then after they filmed with him, Peter Jackson wasn't happy with the result. And so two years later, when he was going through the material, he said, I don't like it. And then he went through the audition tapes again and went back to my audition and said, I like his acting. How do we make him giant? So they decided to do it with motion capture, and so I looked like I was 9 foot, you know? Originally they thought they had to do that physically because, you know, when Richard Armitage is fighting them, Azog has to be, you know, he has to be a giant over the top of him, so... But the acting didn't work out for Peter Jackson, the guy that did it. Like, he couldn't do the, you know...
Because they did it the same like they did with Gandalf. Because he was also huge.
Yeah, well, they just made that large in other ways, you know? They just used angles and whatnot, but yeah, they decided to just go with motion capture to get the details. Also, the guy that was 7 foot did it with prosthetics. So makeup, when you're going close to an orc, when it's in prosthetics, I don't know whether you remember Lord of the Rings. Like in Lord of the Rings, you're going close to an orc and it was like, and there'd be no expression change because the prosthetics just doesn't move subtly enough. So imagine coming in close to Azog's face and it was in makeup and it was just like, you know, it's, but you know, because it was done with art and motion capture, you know, it was all really fluid and looked kind of, yeah, it just looked better. That's why I made that decision.
How was your audition as an Orc Leader?
What?
How did you audition as for that role? And what did you have to do?
Well, originally when I read for it, you know, you were just asked to play a big orc, you know, and so, you know, you sort of walk and you go, you know, you do whatever, you know, like trying to be big and menacing and powerful.
Yeah.
And yeah, I guess the way that I did it on that tape is what they appreciated. But in the end, who was here yesterday? Because I don't want to just answer the same questions as yesterday, because yesterday I answered this question as well. I based my performance on Jaws, you know, the white shark.
And Darth Vader.
And Darth Vader.
How? What part of Jaws and Darth Vader did you use?
Well, I just used the movement of Azog to be predatorial, like a great white shark. You know, like to move like...
This is scary enough.
You know, it was just I kept on thinking that in my head as I was playing him physically.
Yeah.
And then of course the voice, you know, I was trying to think of, you know, a great voice, and I thought Darth Vader. Yeah. You know, so, you know, I am your father, Luke. You know, that kind of deep voice, you know.
And how is your Orcish nowadays?
Terrible. It was never good in the first place. But
do you know the translation of, this is a line from the movie, you said, Giak don't aga excuses, Giak aga ul kokro ul fucking.
I didn't say that.
You said that.
At least not that badly.
It means I don't want excuses, I want the head of the Dwarf King. Or was it another Orcish?
That's why you didn't get the role. I don't know, you could have, you know, they wouldn't have had to do makeup for you because he's already, you know.
But as an actor, I mean, normally most of the roles you play, you speak English. And in this role, you had to speak
No, as Alanon in the Shannara Chronicles, I had to speak like ancient druid. As Crixus, I had to speak like a kind of a ancient English sort of style. It was different. It was like Shakespearean, kind of the way you make a phrase. So actually, three of my main, and as Deathstroke, I had to talk like this. so there was I was always mixing my voice in some way, Yeah.
How is
English,
it?
English.
Is it to play a villain? Because when I talk to actors, most actors really like to play the bad guy, and you play the bad guy most of the time.
I'm going to be the bad guy now because I keep on looking at your drink and I think like, how did I do that?
Oh, I'm sorry.
So it says bad guy move. Bad guy move.
Is it fun?
Premeditation is like just critical. It's like, I'm going to fuck him up again.
I was with you now.
Look, I mean, when you play somebody who's got to give the good guy a run for his money, the closer you play it to being a role that in its own way has strength and kind of a premise that the audience really buys into, then you really have a good conflict. If you're just going to play a bad guy and go like, oh, the bad guy, it's going to get boring, So I always build like a really strong subtext into the character that makes the character fight for something, fight what they really believe in, what they really believe to be true, I mean, I don't think there's any villain on this planet that hasn't got in their own mind something that seems correct and right about why they're doing what they're doing.
Yeah.
I mean, I saw an interview once with Jeffrey Dahmer. Has anybody heard of Jeffrey Dahmer?
No.
He was a really crazy serial killer, did some really crazy stuff. But if you listen to an interview that he's interviewed about a day before his execution, and he does a very honest portrayal of what happened to him as a human being. And it's very disturbing. It's very disturbing when you sort of think about that on a societal context of how many people don't really get true advantages or might get abused by parents or might get abused in some way. There's reasons sort of behind everything. And if you understand that kind of like, and if you have empathy for something, for somebody, even when I played Azog, I wanted to try to create a creature that was like a white shark.
Yeah.
Because you can't blame a white shark who swims up to a human being that's swimming in their territory and eats them.
No.
I mean, they're just doing what a shark does.
Yeah, instinct.
So if you get closer to those ways of actually finding out your character and playing it with a really strong resolve, then I think the audience is like, I understand Slade Wilson. Or I get Crixus, even though he's like being an arsehole to Spartacus. And then when it plays out, and the audience might go like, that was,
and it worked. It worked because
I get people to come up and they go like, when you were playing Crixus, I wanted you to get killed originally, and I'm like, that's pretty heavy.
Yeah.
It's like, I thought you were such an a-hole, and I was like, well, And as a matter of fact, my producer came up to me and said, Manu, what are you doing with Crixus? Because we're getting fan mail to kill you off. And I went, fantastic. No, what do you mean? You're meant to have a love story next. The next episode, you're going to meet Navia and you're going to be involved in and nobody's going to care because they just think your character's an asshole. And I said, I'm going to make them cry. Yeah. I'm going to make them understand what he's been through. And, it was interesting. I mean, unfortunately, with Andy's situation, we had to go back and shoot a prequel. Because Andy was getting treatment, if anybody's aware of the Spartacus story in Andy Whitfield. And while he was getting that treatment, they went back and they did a sort of a prequel that showed Crixus arrive as a gladiator.
Yeah.
And it was kind of like the Spartacus story. And all of a sudden the audience became very aware of, well, he just wasn't always an arsehole.
Yeah.
He was forced
for a reason,
fighting for his life.
Yeah.
He had to be top dog to survive in the gladiatorial world, and you can't do that by going, hey mate, how you doing? Nice to meet you. Are we gonna fight now? Would you like my sword? Would you like this sword?
Where are you gonna hit me?
You just gotta go like, I'm going to kill you, motherfucker. You know, and then you come across as,
how was that for you?
All this sort of stuff, but that's the way you survive, you know?
How was it for you as an actor to do something like that, a prequel? Because then you have to give another layer as an actor to
you know, I mean, as sad as the situation was, it was an incredible opportunity, you know, like, you know, they made my hair long and I sort of came in like this slave that had been dragged out of the mines and like just had no idea. I'd been working 5 years in darkness or something and like all of a sudden I'm in an arena and people are going like, kill, kill, kill. And I'm just going like, you know, it was a really magical moment to discover the character myself in his genesis. You know? Yeah, but as I said, you know, that when you build a character that's meant to be the antagonist to the protagonist, write your own protagonist line.
Yeah.
Don't see yourself as an antagonist, you know? And the audience is buying it. I mean, today's audience is so tuned to bullshit players, you know, that, you know, like, I mean, you know, and everything from the latest Batman to all kinds of films, you know, like James Bond. I mean, once upon a time, it was all kind of like, oh, I'm James Bond, you know? Yes, or, you know, like, you know, Batman had a pair of underpants over some tights, you know, but now they're like, people are living in a city with complex emotional problems, and this is what the audience wants these days. They want more believable, stronger characters, and I mean, if you're an actor worth your salt, you'll dig deep, you know? Yeah.
Nice. You also directed yourself. You made a short film called The Bridge in 2000.
That was a university film, too.
Okay.
It wasn't a film. It wasn't like I got invited to the Academy Awards or anything.
Well, I mean, you're an actor for a long time now, and a lot of actors start directing. Is it one of your ambitions?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I think all actors sort of like want to get into that power position. Because when you're an actor, trust me, you're kind of like down the food chain just a little bit. Unless you're Leonardo DiCaprio or something like that, you know. It's like, you know, producing, directing, having the ownership of a story. Like before I became an actor, I was a musician. You know, I played piano, I did dance, and I almost felt like I was more in control of my destiny by being a musician or a dancer than I was when I was an actor. Because when I'm an actor, I get given the material, and it's somebody else's material. And if you really sort of invest in the art, you think to yourself like, well, am I just being a parrot? And would I like to actually tell my own story or something like that? But you know, everybody wants to tell their own story. But the discipline in becoming a writer or a director is the same discipline as becoming an actor or a singer or whatever. You have to put in the hours, you know? And it's finding the hours to make the change from being an actor to becoming a director or a writer, you know? Yeah. Because you've got to pay your dues, yeah.
If we talk about the influence, in what roles did you add some of your personal stuff?
Oh, all of them. I mean, all of them. I mean, you know, as an actor.
Give an example?
Well, as an actor, you've only got what you got, right? If anybody out here has got any ambitions to be an actor, don't act. React. React to the environment of a scene, to other actors and whatnot, and react. But the only thing that's important to casting directors or the people out there, if you want to be an actor, is to bring your own being into play. It's the only thing that's interesting. Acting's really false. And when I work with actors and I know they're not actually digging it from inside, you can see it in their face. They're going like, and when you're acting with somebody who's really digging from inside, there's this laser that's coming at you, and you go, oh yeah, and then you can play. You know, then it's like arm wrestling. You know, it's like
punching.
Yeah, you got to share the energy and get it to lock in, and you know, and yeah, you know, I mean, there's a big difference between acting with an actor in the moment, or kind of like acting with somebody who's struggling to remember their lines or just isn't there, you know. Yeah.
How is it when you act and there's a lot of blue screen or green screen around you? It needs more
That's not our problem. That's somebody else's problem. So, you know, we're there. Again, I'll say to you, like, you're there with an actor. Act with them, you know, play the world you're in. You know, that stuff's behind us and they're going to paint, you know, you know, a fantastic background of some sort. I'm not doing acting. I'm not acting with somebody in the middle of a scene going like, oh, I wonder what they're going to put on that green screen. Some people do.
I read you put some dancing or ballet into your acting. Could you tell us something about it?
Oh, well, my girlfriend when I was about 15, she was a ballerina, and they didn't have any guys at their dance school, and they wanted to do West Side Story, old musical, and yeah, me and a friend of mine who was a martial artist, and he was dating my friend's girlfriend. We decided we'd go along and do this, you know, we did this musical and joined it, and then the dance teachers were like, they pointed me out, they said, you know what, you've got a lot of natural ability, you want to come and dance, you don't have to pay for classes, we need a guy to be here. So I started doing ballet. I did a lot of like any ballerinas in the audience? Anybody do ballet?
Right there.
Yeah, you know, so you know, I was doing part of you know, lifting the ballerina, and to be honest, like, it was probably one of the best physical activities I've ever done. You know, I did athletics, I did rugby, a whole bunch of different stuff, martial arts, but dancing was like, you know, if you look at the body of a dancer, they're actually like gymnastics, you know, they're kind of really well defined, you know, but also it tunes your movement skills. So when I was like Crixus, you know, doing gladiatorial moves and stuff like that, I was always, you know, using the central balance, spinning, you know, leaping, jumping, whatever, as a dancer as well, you know. Everything sort of helps.
Nice, thank you. Are there any questions from the audience? Zijn er vragen uit het publiek?
Quick, it's a race. Have a fight for it, please. Seriously.
Hallo, wie ben je?
I'm Charlotte. My question is, what was your favorite moment on the set of Arrow?
Acting-wise, it was the scene where Oliver and I were on the island, and I was telling him that I had a son, and that Billy Wintergreen had betrayed me. And it was the first time, again, you see, this is what I was talking about before, about world building, like building your character's subplot, why your character exists. So at that point, you didn't really know anything about Slade. And all of a sudden, I said something that was very deep and very meaningful to the character. And it was dark, but, you know, it was like, you know, I think I said something like, everybody is in this world for themselves, kid. You know, and that's a very paranoid comment, but it might hold some truth as well to somebody who's been as badly betrayed as Slade felt. And yeah, I remember that scene just felt like it was a death charge that started all the machine working about who's he going to become as Deathstroke, you know. And that was like 8 episodes before Deathstroke would come up, but I felt like, oh, here it is, here's the death charge, you know. Another moment was when Emma, Ricard, what's her name? She plays.
Emily.
Yeah, what character does she play?
Felicity.
Oh yeah, that one. Felicity, right?
Yeah, Felicity.
So I had Felicity like, you know, I was holding her like this, and you know, Stephen Amell was coming in to save her. It was like the season cliffhanger or something. And she had to backhand me in the face, and she did, like really hard. And she split my lip open, like my lip was bleeding. And I was like, oh, that was a good one. Nice shot. That happens, but that happened all the time on Spartacus. On Spartacus, we'd always hit each other with the swords, you know, it just was inevitable. All guys going hard, but yeah, Emily gave me the best blow of them all. That sounded weird.
It's okay.
Okay, sorry, kids in the audience.
Did you get to save any of the costumes from films or series you worked on?
No, but the guy who was the costume designer was... actually, I can't say this. I didn't say so. He was trying to get me something of the costume.
Ah, great.
Yeah. Which might be happening. Only recently, like last week, he was messaging me. He said, "Manu, I've got it." And I was like,
very cheap.
"Sweet, okay,
Sweet.
okay. Send it." But I said, "How are we going to get that through the post?" Yeah, interesting.
All right, next question, please. Who are you?
I have Deathstroke's patch.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, on the
You
last.
wear it sometimes?
There was only one. There was only one ever.
Oh, wow.
And so I don't know. It's in the back of a drawer somewhere.
Oh my God.
I don't even know. It's somewhere.
Somewhere. Hi, who are you?
I am Albert. Did you steal anything from a set of Arrow?
Everything. No, we were just talking about that. And on the last day, the eye patch, Slade's eye patch, and the costume designer went, "Just take it, just take it." And it was no big deal because it was, but there was only one. There was only one that was ever made.
Did you save like scripts or stuff, or do you throw them away?
You know what? I wish I did. I wish I did save scripts. Sometimes I've had them and I've kept them in boxes and stuff like that, but inevitably they go missing. I don't know why. But yeah, I mean, sometimes when you sort of think like you had the whole series of Spartacus, you know.
Yeah, amazing.
I have got a lot of the Arrow scripts still.
Also with your own notes on it and stuff?
Sometimes, yeah, some of them do, yeah, exactly, yeah. But yeah, I hope that answers the question, darling. Yeah,
Thank you.
eye patch.
Volgende vraag alsjeblieft.
I'm Damon. What was it like playing with the cast of Arrow?
Playing with them?
Yeah, acting and...
Okay. It was interesting. Interesting. I would say that I had the same. I said this yesterday, so I hope I'm not repeating to too many people. But when I play number 2 on the call sheet, and I'll put it like this, right? I've done 8 roles where I'm number 2 on the call sheet. And the lead guy's a white guy with blue eyes, and I'm the brown guy. And I seem to morally adjust his heroic position. And I've gotten used to this way of slight stereotyping. And so I never play number 2 on the call sheet. I play my own number 1. And I think like, okay, they're calling him number 1 because that's the stereotype hero role, right? So I never play it like that. And I always keep that close to myself so that when I'm looking at them and I'm playing, I don't go like, "Oh, hi, Mr. Ramel, I'm glad to be on your set." I just get on there and I play my role because he's on my set.
Is it because of that energy that your character became so successful? Because you have that energy in your
Well, I think the success of the characters playing off each other is a result of that. Andy Whitfield and I were similar as well. And later, I mean, I sort of, you know, with Andy, it was like we went through this kind of first season of being opposed to each other. And the producers said to me once, they said, "You've got to hold back. Andy's not feeling safe on set because you're going so hard in the fight scenes." And I was like, "Oh, okay." But I didn't, because it was awesome to go hard and to see him having to fight, you know. And we were training well enough every day with sword practice and stuff like that, that I could be throwing my full weight and coming in and it would feel this close, but we were trained to get that close. And I was really proud that Spartacus was just so close to the truth. It felt real, you know. But, you know, when you're number 1 on the call sheet, you're kind of God, you know. When you're number 2 on the call sheet, you're kind of over there. And so it was always like, "Oh, be careful about, you know, and don't do that, and do it. It doesn't happen the other way around." And I always thought that, you know what, it's working, the job's working, and so all I can say is when I played in those two series with the lead guy, I go in hard, but I think it reflects,
Give him everything.
and not necessarily as not like method acting, I don't get in there and sort of like wander on the set. I just go into the scene like really hard, and I think that's just a signature of my performances, mate, and I don't know how it'll ever be remembered or whatever by people, but I've always felt proud that I put in 110%, because I saw actors walk onto the set of Spartacus hopping off their phones, and then they come onto the middle of the arena and they're like, okay, we're ready to go. I was running around the studio and doing a Maori haka and pulling everything that I possibly had in my soul to play Crixus and to honor a guy that died in 74 BC. I was very serious about the role, and
But it's close to method acting.
Huh?
It is close to method acting.
Well, method acting's more like sitting in a zone and becoming like, what they say about method acting is it can distance you from the other actor because you become so self-absorbed that you don't listen to the other actor. Like you just sort of play in this sort of, but it depends on how you apply it. Every actor's different, and there's method actors that I think still employ the Meisner, which is what's the other actor, but
It's more like physical method acting. Something like...
it's everything.
Yeah.
But every actor's different. Every actor has his signature, different signature.
But you don't...
This is the question, brother.
You don't want people to call you your name as your character on set. Some actors do that. I want you to call me my character name, and then no, you're too sober.
When they say cut, it's move on. Yeah.
All right, next question, please.
Hi, my name is Amber. I was wondering, because my sister is a really big fan of yours, but she couldn't make it today because she's really busy with her exams. So I was wondering if you could maybe just leave her some kind words so I can show her that when I get home. I think she would really love that.
You're just trying to get a free selfie.
No, I mean, I have someone filming in the audience, so you can just,
But you haven't even asked yet, and they're filming already. Oh my God, what a setup.
I'm sorry.
You're pushy, eh? Okay, what's your sister's name?
Robin.
Ruben.
Robin, yes, Robin.
Am I getting it right? Robin.
Like the bird. Robin.
Oh, Robin.
Yes.
Robin.
Robin,
Okay.
yes.
Okay. So where's the camera?
It's there.
Okay, so can everybody after me go, hi, Robin? Right, okay. And when you're filming, can you make it sort of go around the audience? Okay, 3, 2, 1. Hi, Robin.
I hope she's...
Now, that was terrible. Hey, Robin, how you doing, darling? We're at the Netherlands Comic-Con. Your sister just said you needed a message because you're at home studying for your exams. Good luck, darling. Go hard. I hope you do well. Much love. Bye.
Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Thank you. Next question, please.
Hello, I'm Joey. Sorry about my voice there. I have a question for you. Which was the hardest part to film? Like, which scene did take the most effort to do?
In what series?
In Arrow or Spartacus, don't matter.
Well, one of the disappointing things for me personally doing Arrow was that they used stunt guys to do the fights. So whenever I got the sword in my hand and ready to go, they put the helmet on and pull in a stunt guy and he'd do the fights. But the reason for that is because in America and Canada, they have very strict legal law, the laws on performance. And the thing is, in America, you can sue. You can sue for slipping over at McDonald's. In New Zealand, you can't sue in the workplace. We have a medical coverage system in the background that covers for people, but you can't actually sue. So in America and Canada, in order to cover bases, because the people can sue, is that they make sure stunt guys do the stunts. Because that doesn't apply in New Zealand, our producers were like, no, let them fight. And I loved it, you know, I mean, we did all our own stuff, and we were super proud of it, you know. It was great. So in that regard, you know, Spartacus was much more demanding for me because I was doing all the stunts and all the fighting, and but it's awesome, bro. You know, I mean, you get together with the stunt coordinators, you talk through you know, you're fighting the shadow of death, the giant, you know, or you're fighting the Gargan twins, two beasts, or you're fighting like 10 other gladiators, and you know, it's fun and games, bro. Like you know, when you're a young guy, I was young, well built, very athletic at the time, you know, and that's what you're doing as your acting job is to do gladiatorial fights. It's you know, it's awesome. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks. Yeah, no worries.
Next question, please.
Hi, I'm Jessica.
Get out. Get out immediately.
I want to ask you if you want to replay a scene from Arrow.
With you, kid.
If you want.
Come on.
Oké. Dus we gaan een scène herbeleven met Manu. Ben benieuwd. Hoppakee.
Okay. So, what scene can we do? Wait up. Okay, this was my audition. Okay, who remembers the very first scene where Oliver wandered into the aeroplane and Slade dropped from the ceiling and grabbed him around the neck, right? So you have to sort of come in, say this is the aeroplane, right? Now come back here, come back here. You're gonna be kind of like, you know, you gotta act like, where is he? Okay, so turn around, and you're going like that, right? And you can't see me. There's a green screen in front of me, right? So you can't see me. Right, so you're walking in, up to the end, go to the end. Walk that way. This is really hard directing this actress.
Loop maar naar voren, zegt hij. Loop maar eens langzaam naar voren.
Right, not here, right? And then suddenly Slade drops from the top and goes, "You got 10 seconds to tell me something I believe, kid, or I'm gonna cut out your throat box."
Thanks a lot. Very athletic. You're working on some new material now.
Was it?
Two series, Notes and Muru.
Huh?
I saw that on IMDb. Two series, one called Notes and one called Muru.
Oh, Muru, yeah. I just did a film in New Zealand about a Maori warrior, modern day, who got arrested and got labelled as a terrorist by the New Zealand government because he was an activist against colonialism. It only happened a few years ago and involved the New Zealand Special Forces came in with helicopters and landed in this community and arrested everybody. It was kind of like the type of thing that happens with Native American Indians or Australian Aboriginals, or you know, it's a film that shows that colonialism hasn't necessarily died at all. People are still fighting for their rights. So I was very proud to be a part of this film. I thought that I was going to play a Maori and like a Maori activist and be sort of standing up for the rights of my people, but they asked me to play one of the special forces team that comes in to arrest everybody, which was kind of like, again, an antagonist role, but it was a very powerful role because in the end the character sees that he's bought into the system and become a part of it and is actually betraying his own people. So it's a very complex role. It was kind of like playing Judas. And in the end, he realizes after some pretty heavy violence, that he's on the wrong side. And challenging film that's going to Sundance and Toronto Film Festival, hopefully Cannes. And it's a feature film that I'm a part of. So, just trying to step up into the high rollers table. I don't know, we'll see what happens.
Nice. I hope we can see it here.
Yeah, it'll come out good.
What are you a fan of?
I don't know, I was a big fan of the Vikings series. I like historical pieces as well, yeah. I don't know, bro, I've got 3 daughters and they stole the television about 10 years ago. I grew up on Barney and, all these. Yeah, my TV disappeared a long time ago, brother.
All right, thank you. There's another question.
Hi, I'm Aaron. How are you today, Manu?
Yeah, good, brother.
Alright, I have a question. You're a pretty muscular guy, you look good, you have to look good for an entire season. So I was just wondering, how do you juggle all those roles? Like, what would a regular day in Spartacus look like for you with a shooting schedule, running the line, staying fit?
Well, in a show like that, you're so active all the time, 3 out of 5 days of filming would be either in the training square or actually having a battle. And I'd always sort of be also exercising and warming up and warming down and stretching, and so your body was constantly on an active sort of role as well as an acting role, we also got a lot of injuries. A lot of the guys ended up with common injuries that in the time of gladiators would have been very common, like rotator cuff tears, like the tear of your shoulder, or a hyperextension of the arm, like tennis elbow, because you're using the sword, and if you use the sword and you hyperextend and get a bit of a pop in the arm, then that every day, again and again and again, creates wear and tear, RSI and stuff like that. So a lot of us have been, I'm meant to have had an operation on my shoulder about 6 years ago, and I just haven't been able to find the time to do it because it's a 9-month recovery period, being in a sling and stuff like that. But, and some people say never get operated, try to just work through it, but in that regard, the physical training regime and stuff like that, or especially just caring for your body with things like massage and proper stretching, that was more important than actually being big or anything like that, looking good is not as important as actually having a functional body without damage, so it's countering against the wear and tear. That's the most important thing. But I did Spartacus, brother, when I was 40, and when I went for the audition for Spartacus, I knew the casting agent. I was in Australia, and I walked in and it was all 20-year-olds. And when I went in and saw the casting agent, she said, "Manu, what are you doing here?" And I said, "I'm here to read for Spartacus, for the Spartacus series." And she said, "Manu, you're too old." That was the very first thing I was ever told going for Spartacus, was that I was too old. She said, "You're too old. They're looking for people in their 20s. That's how old the gladiators were." And I was like, "Oh, okay." And she goes, "But we'll put you on tape." And I was like, "Oh, okay." And they were kind of like, "Okay, well, okay, action." I went, "Shall I begin?" I did something, And then that got sent off, and then, but when I was in the hallway, there was, getting ready, there was all these young 20-year-olds sort of going, "I am Spartacus," Like, back in those days, if you're 20 years old, you've probably seen your village get burnt down, you've probably seen people crucified, you probably fought in a couple of major battles yourself, and, there's a kind of I think a kind of a component to your soul that belongs to that period of time. Today we're, thank goodness, things might change soon. We live in relative safety, and somebody who's 20 is like going to university and pretty safe, Drinking Heineken, maybe Heineken. Do you guys drink Heineken? No. Duval?
Absolutely not.
Or is that Belgian?
Heineken is from here.
Okay. So we're a little bit metrosexual guys these days, We're kind of like, maybe not in different parts of the world, there's other parts of the world where that's certainly not the case, but, you know, in Australia, which is, g'day mate, how you doing? Oh, great mate, how you doing mate? Okay, I'm going to be Spartacus, here we go. I'm going for an audition mate for Spartacus. Oh, awesome. Okay, how do I do Spartacus? I am Spartacus. You know, I don't know, you know, it's like, how do you get into that, you know? I got into acting, and I got into the arts, because when I was young, I lost my mother and brother in a car accident, and my brother died in my hands. So sometimes when I'm digging deep, and people who know my role as Crixus or know my role as Deathstroke, I go to the paint box, you know, and that paint box, and it might be method acting there, that paint box has a layer, and I bring it into the acting, and it's a true note. It's like if you ask somebody to play a piece of classical music on the piano. They might have learned how to play it, right? But if you were Chopin and you grew up during the wars of Eastern Europe and saw all that blood and death and war and something, when you play that piano, it's like boom, 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 you know, there's a different layer you can bring to it as an artist, just depending on how deep you dig, right? So I kind of had that in my toolbox. So when I was like in a moment of showing an audition scene where there was death involved or the risk of death and stuff like that, I had something that was showing from memory recall, whatever, you know, versus somebody who's, and you can see that difference when you work with actors as well. You sort of see whether they've got stuff that they can really use, you know. I mean, some people can't act it, but it's, you can usually tell the ones who have got it to use it. Yeah. Anyway, was that it? I forgot the question.
Awesome, thank you so much.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Sometimes I go off on a tangent, kid, you know? You ask me a question, I'll talk about something completely different.
But does that mean that we're going to see your greatest roles from now on? Because you have lived your life and you have experience. You can put it all in your acting.
Who knows, brother? You know, like as an actor, you're like in the starting gate at a horse race, you know?
Yeah.
And every time you get a role, you know, it's this race, you know, and then you get to the end and they reshuffle you and they think like, oh, what's that actor going to be good for? You know, like Jason Momoa's about to start a new series called The Gods of, or The Kings of War, about Polynesians, you know, maybe I'll go and read for that and something might happen there, you know. I'm going on Monday to Poland to do a fight film. I'm playing the trainer of a female MMA fighter, a little bit like $1 Million Babe. There's always an opportunity to get into something, but you know, like, you know, whether I'll crack the Hollywood sort of stuff, I don't know. You never know. You know, it can happen in one movie. You know, I've definitely been close, and if it happens, it'll happen. We'll see.
I would really like to thank you for your time. And I would like to say that you have...
He was going to get that water and throw it on me. Some revenge.
You have to rush to the photo booth.
Shall we begin?
You have to rush to the photo booth because people can take a picture with you. From 12 to 1, van 12 tot 1 kan je op de foto met Manu. Zou ik zeker doen. And you also have some signing sessions in the area. Yes,
this is the sales pitch.
Yes, this is the sales pitch. I have to tell this. Thanks a lot, Manu Bennett.
Yeah, pleasure. Thank you very much. Thank you.